My marketing department told me that the best way to give a talk in a foreign country is to speak in their language. Ce lapin d'Avignon. On y danse. On y danse. Business. Technology. 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 Business. Business technology. Technology. Business technology. Technology. Business technology. 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 Business. My name is Chet Haase, and I'm here to speak about the business of technology, business technology, or as I like to think of it, there's a talk that I'm giving, and my name is Chet Haase. It's a good idea in a presentation to tell the audience a little bit about yourselves so that they understand why they're here. More importantly, I just like to talk about myself. I am, of course, a technologist. I am also a businessist. As you can tell today, I'm a speakerist. I am also a speaker about business technologist, and I am a slide bullet listist. A little bit more, I do have some education. I have a BS in BS. I have an MBA from Harvard, which is in Iowa. I have several professional affiliations, one with the following letters, and the other I-quadruple-E. I have a bunch of professional experience, which is relevant. First of all, I am the founder of Process Methodology Specialists, or PMS. I also founded the company, the Specialists of Process Expertise, also called SPEW. This company, unfortunately, did not last very long. Prior to that, I founded the Bilateral Implementation of Legalese Expertise, or BILE, which also didn't last very long. I am a partner in the Partnership of Partners, or PIPI. And finally, I have a side job as a barista. A little bit more about me. In particular, a little bit more about the company and the services we offer in PMS. We do consulting on process and methodology. We also consult on specialization, and we offer espresso drinks. I have personal interests, which I don't want to go into. I also think it's helpful in a talk to lay out an agenda for the talk so that the audience can follow every single word. In the agenda so far, we've obviously had an introduction. I've told you just a little bit about myself. If you do have questions about me later, I'd be able to answer those later. And finally, we cover the agenda. Now, I'm going to go into a section in the talk about terminology, or as you might call it, definitions. And then we'll have a middle part of the talk, which I like to call the middle section. After that, I will offer a proof for the claims that I am making in this talk. And I like to provide a call to action, something in particular to do, to take away from this talk and to go do in the wider world. Finally, we'll have a conclusion, and then I hope that we have time for Q&A. On with terminology. What do we mean by the business technology of technology business? More importantly, what do I mean by it? First of all, let's look at the word business. You can break that into two roots. But before we do, we should look at the whole world, busyness. obviously means the act of looking busy. Because as everybody knows, the most important thing in business is not to actually do things, but to be seen doing them. We look at the other root ness, which of course means a bottom-feeding sea monster. Technology, on the other hand, can be broken into its 4 Latin roots. Tech, for teach, which is to educate others. No, for the word no. Log is, of course, an abbreviation for logarithm. And why? Why not? If we put all these terms together, we come up with the phrase, the business of technology, which obviously means bottom-feeding monsters looking busy teaching things besides logarithms. And why not? But of course, that's only half of the phrase. The other part, what does that mean? The business of technology, business technology. What do those other words mean? The same thing. I just put them there for emphasis. Now, if we go back to the agenda, we can see that we've covered definitions, and we're going to launch into the middle section. Now, I'd like to start out this middle section with a little bit of data, or as I like to call them, charts. Now, if we look at the charts before you, we see along the x-axis, that's the horizontal one, the one on the bottom, it goes from here right to here. Now, if you look on the left, you can see that we go from a time that is before to a time that is now. So this is obviously covering a span of what I will call, for today's purposes, time. If you look on the y-axis, that's the vertical one over to the left, your left, not mine, you can see some units. I have no idea what those mean. So let's overlay some numbers on top of this. First of all, we can look at the growth of population in the world. This is the number of people over time. We started out as 0 and then increased over time. Now, the interesting part to look at is this inflection point here, where it started to raise. This, it turns out, was when people discovered reproduction. Leading immediately to more people. Now, we can overlay some more data on here. We can look at the growth of business over time as well, and we can see that business also started out at 0 and continued at 0 until the advent of money. Business only makes sense if you have money to trade it with. So once we have money, we start doing a little bit of business, and then it picks up at this other inflection point over here, which is when computers were invented. Now, theoretically, there was an industrial revolution back in here, but that's not very interesting stuff, so nobody really wanted any of it. It was when computers came along that it really picked up and started trading, it's a business term, at a much rapider rate. Now, we can overlay additional data on here, and we can talk about technology. Now, technology also started at 0, stayed at 0 through reproduction, stayed at 0 through money, but then when computers were invented, that's the interesting inflection part for computers. And more importantly, there was a steeper curve that started when phones came along, because not only could everybody in the world have a computer, they could also have a computer in their pocket, on their face, in their coat, in their car, wherever they wanted to, multiple computers, lots of technology, very steep growth curve here, right? So there's a couple of important things to note in this graph, besides the units on the left, which I don't remember. The first of all is that business and technology grow together. And the second is that the more technology we have, the less reproduction there was in the world. Because there were, frankly, other things to do. All right, so we talked about the growth of business and technology together, but we can put this on a more tuned graph looking at that relationship. So on the x-axis here, again, we have less, that's over there, to more, and this is talking about business, whereas over on the left we have technology with the units of 0 to 100 as before. I don't know what they mean. We can look at how they compare, and we can see that more business means more technology, or to put it in words, more business leads to more technology. Now, if we look at this a different way, this is where it gets interesting. If we put technology on the x-axis, again, same less to more, same unknown 0 to 100 units, we can see the same exact graph, right? Is this starting to make sense to you? Now, again, we can put this in words, and we can say more technology leads to more business, which both of those lead to my premise, which I call the premise of business technology circularity, which goes like this. And it's a quote. More business leads to more technology and the other way around, too. And this is a quote by me, and you can quote it as long as you say I said it. Another way to look at this is with a really interesting graph, which took me a long time to draw. We can put business on the top, technology at the bottom, and we can draw a circularity graph related to the relationship I was talking about. They relate to each other, right? It's a symbiotic relationship if I were to use a word that I don't understand. And look at that animation. Now, I think that says it all, which means that we're at the end of the middle section. And we're getting to get into the proof. You're probably sitting in your chair saying something like, sure, all of these ideas, but where is the proof? And you're saying it in a language I don't understand. OK, well, let's go into the proof then. We have business, and we have technology. Now, what things do they share in common besides that timeline that we looked at earlier? They share a letter. Right? OK, so let's examine that relationship then. We have the letter E, and Wikipedia tells me that E is exactly equal to the following equation, which I don't understand, but it was on Wikipedia, so it must be true. So this is a series of numbers and syntax that I don't really understand. But what I do understand is that this series is approximately equal to the number 2.718. OK, so let's put that number up there, and let's come to the obvious conclusion that 2.718 is approximately equal to 3. Meanwhile, we all know that pi is approximately equal to 3.142, which is obviously also approximately equal to 3. All right, so where does that lead us? 2.718 then obviously equals 3.142. E equals pi. And if you look at what's up at the top here, all of these numbers here, well, numbers are also known as digits. So this is obviously a good example of digital technology. Yeah. In my country, we call that epiphany. Right? Now, if we look at the equation at the bottom where E equals pi, well, that means by some mathematical formula that I don't understand that we can put these concepts together, and we have pi, and everyone knows that pi is big business. OK, I think we've offered sufficient proof. Let's go into the call to action. What does this mean for you? Well, I took a look at the schedule for this conference, and I went through all the titles so that I could understand all the content that we've all been learning for the last 2 days. And I pulled out some of those words, some of those terms, some of that terminology, and I put it up here. We have words like application, words like mobile, words like development, words like numbers like 2.0, numbers like -5, and all kinds of other interesting technical terms. Well, I think all of these are great examples of technology. Meanwhile, I went back and I looked at all of the titles again, and I looked at different words. Words like disruption, words like collaboration, words like industrialization, spelled wrong. Words like opportunity, important business connector words, prepositions like of, words like the, words like le. All sorts of other important terms, which I would classify pretty confidently as business. So what does it mean when we put these things together? Well, we have the technology terms, and we have all the business terms, and there they are together. So what does that mean for the call to action? I would say that it's important in life, not just in this conference, but in the conference of life, to go to talks, to listen to things, to learn stuff about technology and business. And that's my quote. So if we go back to the agenda, we can see that we pretty clearly covered the call to action, and on with the conclusion. Technology. Business. technology business. So that was the conclusion. And we've finished this very full session, and I believe we had some time for Q&A. I would encourage you to ask questions. If they can't get the mic to you in time, ask it anyway, and I'll repeat it, and then we'll blame them later. So please, I've covered a lot of material here. I know you're still absorbing it, but I would be happy to answer questions. You can also just ask about me. Yes?
Hi, and thank you for this amazing talk.
Sure. Should we just call it there? Is there another question? I like questions like that. That was a perfect question. Thank you.
Could you talk about you a little bit more?
Yes, I could. Yep, another good question.
You said that business and technology share the same letters at E, but they also share the N. And the N is the natural number. So your proof doesn't work with the N. It works with the E, but not with the N.
I'm going to have to go back and examine the data again, because this is getting pretty technical, and I don't want to bore everyone in the audience. But if you take that argument, obviously we do have the E, we also have the N. If you put all of those letters together, we have pine. Pines grow very tall and strong. And that's how I feel about business and technology, growing together, very strong, with sharp and annoying needles. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, very good, yeah. Yes?
Where can I get the same tie as you're wearing right now?
You could get it from me after the show. All right,
Thanks.
That's creepy. Anything else? Still absorbing the material? I understand. We'll post the slides later. You can review them. You can hire me as a consultant to your company and come say exactly the same thing.
How much to hire you? How much to hire you?
How much money do you have? That's how much it'll cost. Yep. All right. Looks like everyone's pretty satisfied with the amount of material in this talk. So we'll call it there. I have a couple more slides. First of all, we're done with the Q&A. And second of all, I'd like to leave you with one more quote from me. Merci.